Hi, very glad to see you on the channel. Before you start listening to the story, write in the comments whether you like the voice on the video. The first time I felt it, I was still 2 hours away from home, stuck in construction traffic on I-75 and watching clouds roll in from the west. That strange tightening in my chest didn't come from the delay or the storm brewing. It was something quieter, something internal, a gut feeling that home wouldn't feel like home when I walked back in. I chalked it up to exhaustion. I've been gone 5 days, work conference in Indianapolis, and after 2 hotel fire alarms, endless keynote speakers, and one sleepless night in a paper-thin walled room, I was ready to collapse into our bed and see Samantha's face again. That was the thought keeping me going. When I pulled into the driveway, the porch light wasn't on. Not unusual, but not like her. I checked my watch. 9:12 p.m. The lights in the living room were dimmed, but a faint glow flickered through the blinds. The TV, maybe? She hadn't texted since gym, then quick shower at 7:01. I parked and stepped inside. The air smelled different. Not bad, just different. There was a faint, almost citrusy scent in the hallway. Not the candles she used. I set my duffel down, kicked off my boots, and wandered through the house, calling out, "Sam?" No answer. The bedroom was untouched. Bed still made. My side even tucked in. Odd. She usually at least laid on top of the covers. I walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge. 2 protein shakes, leftover grilled chicken, and a half-empty bottle of wine I didn't recognize. There were 2 lipstick-stained glasses in the sink. That tightening in my chest returned. "Samantha?" I called again, a bit louder. Still nothing. I checked her location, gym. She'd shared it with me months ago when she started training with Troy, and said it made her feel safer coming home late. Fair enough. I unpacked, tossed my clothes in the laundry basket, and sank into the couch. I tried watching a game replay, but my mind couldn't settle. At 10:14, the front door opened. She stepped inside, hair damp, hoodie tied around her waist. "Oh, hey, babe. You're back early," she said, smiling. Her cheeks were flushed. "Traffic must have been good." "It wasn't," I replied, watching her set down her gym bag. "You hit legs tonight?" She blinked. "No, arms. Supersets with Troy. He's got me switching it up." Of course he did. She moved quickly, almost too casually, toward the hallway. "I need a rinse off. Sauna was crazy tonight. Sweat central." I didn't say anything, just nodded. That citrusy scent hit me again as she passed. It was clinging to her gym bag. By midnight, she was asleep. I wasn't. I sat out on the back deck, watching moths fling themselves into the porch light, trying to talk myself down from a feeling I couldn't quite explain. It wasn't jealousy. It wasn't paranoia. Ich krastid some. At least I had. But something was tugging at me, hard. Something didn't add up. The next morning, I made coffee and walked out to the garage. Her gym bag was on the floor, half unzipped. I hadn't gone digging for answers in years, not since college. But something compelled me. Inside, the usual gloves, resistance bands, a towel. But there was also a small box wrapped in matte gray paper with a silver ribbon tucked into the side pocket. I froze. It wasn't addressed to me. No card. Notad. Just a box, roughly the size of a watch case or a bracelet. I took it inside, sat at the kitchen table, and stared at it. She walked in moments later, yawning. "Hey, you see my gray wrap box?" I was going to drop it off at the salon. "It's a raffle thing," she said too quickly, already scanning the counter. "Didn't see it." I lied, sliding it under the newspaper. That tightening? It was a fist now. Later that day, I drove into town and unwrapped the box. Inside was a custom black leather wrist cuff with initials tooled in silver. Not mine, and definitely not for a salon raffle. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I did something better. I walked to the hardware store, bought a soldering iron, and etched a message on the underside of the band. "Hope it's worth the wait." Then I rewrapped the box, exactly how I found it, and slid it right back in her gym bag. The rest of that week moved like molasses. I didn't mention the gift. She didn't bring it up again, but I watched her more closely than I ever had before. Her patterns were steady on the surface. Up early for a run, protein shake for breakfast, off to work at the clinic, then the gym. She was friendly, loving even, but it felt forced, like she was performing a part shed already rehearsed. And me? I was the quiet husband with a front row seat. Every word she spoke landed with a hollow thud. It wasn't what she was saying, it was what she wasn't. Wednesday night, I came home late from helping my cousin change out his truck's brake pads. She was already in bed, face glowing from the soft light of her phone screen. She didn't hear me come in at first. I stood at the door and watched her smile at something on her screen. Then her thumb quickly tapped, and the screen went dark. "Hey," she said, slipping the phone under her pillow. "You're home late." "Yeah," I muttered, kicking off my shoes. "How was your night?" "Good. Long gym session." "I'm beat." She rolled over and faced the wall. I stared at the ceiling for a long time. The next morning, she left early. Said she had to pick something up from Troy, some kind of new workout supplement he wanted her to try. I waited 15 minutes, then checked the gym's Instagram stories. Nothing. No new posts. But I noticed Troy had tagged the gym's location in a personal story, something I hadn't seen before. I clicked. It was a boomerang clip of him shaking a bottle of pre-workout by the front desk mirror. In the background, someone walked by quickly. Long dark ponytail. Same shoes as Samantha. I rewound the clip twice. That wasn't proof, but it was enough to stir something in me. That afternoon, I parked down the block from the gym and waited. She usually finished her sessions around 5:30. At 5:27, she walked out the side door, not the front, and headed down the alley between the gym and the yoga studio. A minute later, Troy followed, tossing his bag over his shoulder. They didn't touch, didn't even speak, but they walked close. Too close. I didn't confront her that night. I cooked dinner like normal. We ate together. She talked about some new core routine she was trying. I nodded, barely hearing the words. My mind was stuck on the box, the one with the cuff, and the lie about the salon raffle. I needed to see how far she'd take it. On Friday, I got my answer. I came home from running errands and found a note on the kitchen table. Had to drop off the raffle prize at the gym. Figured I'd walk it over before my workout. "Love you." I stood there staring at her handwriting for a long time. Neat, round letters. A heart above the I in figured. I opened the gym's social media page again. No raffle posts. No contest. No promotions. But Troy had posted another clip. This one of a smoothie cup labeled S, with a purple heart drawn on it. His caption, "Custom orders for the committed ones." I didn't know if it meant anything. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it was just coincidence. But I no longer believed in coincidences. That night, while she was showering, I went through her gym bag again. The box was gone. The space where it had been now held a folded towel and a plastic container with 2 protein bars. I checked her phone while it sat unattended on the nightstand, still unlocked after she used it to change a playlist. No obvious messages. No app called Sugar Time or anything bold like that. But I noticed an unusual number of deleted texts in her history with Troy. Every third message, gone. Always hers, not his. Just enough to make their conversation feel stilted and empty. Just enough to hide context. I wasn't ready to accuse her. Not yet. I needed her to feel safe in the lie. So I played along. The next day, I asked about the raffle. She blinked, caught off guard, then smiled. "Oh, they're doing a fitness giveaway at the gym. I think one of the trainers is running it. I just want to pitch in." "What did you give them?" "Some cuff I found in my old drawer," she said casually, sipping coffee. "One of those motivational ones, leather strap, kind of rugged." I raised an eyebrow. "Wasn't that a gift from your sister?" "Oh, maybe. I don't remember. It was just lying around. Figured someone else could use it." She said it too fast, too practiced, and that's when I knew she was all in. She had taken the bait, lied through her teeth, and offered up a keepsake she claimed to treasure, without hesitation. I didn't flinch. I kissed her cheek, told her she was thoughtful, and as I walked out to mow the lawn, I smiled to myself. Because now, I knew I wasn't just suspicious. I was right, and she had no idea I was watching every move. The following Monday started like any other. I packed my lunch, loaded the truck, and headed to work. But my mind wasn't in it. The job site noise faded into background static. All I could think about was the cuff, her lie, and that strange little smoothie story Troy had posted. Still, I had to be sure. Guessing wasn't good enough. I needed to confirm it, solid and arguable. So I decided to make my move. That afternoon, I swung by the gym. Not a workout, not really. I threw on my hoodie and joggers, scanned in at the desk like any other member, and made my way past the main floor to the stairwell by the sauna. The whole time, I kept my head down, but I noticed Troy standing by the squat rack, laughing with someone I didn't recognize. No sign of Samantha yet. I hit the upstairs lounge, pretending to scroll through my phone, but my eyes were glued to the glass. About 10 minutes later, I saw her come in. She wasn't wearing her usual gym gear. Instead, she had on that black fitted top and leggings I'd only ever seen her wear on nights we'd go out. My stomach twisted. She walked straight up to Troy, bumped his arm playfully, and whispered something. He grinned and tilted his head toward the rear hallway, the one leading to the sauna and storage. She looked around, then followed. They didn't notice me. I counted to 20 and followed quietly. Just as I reached the end of the hallway, I heard voices. His, hers, low and breathy. I couldn't make out the words. I stood behind a supply cart, phone ready. Just as I started to hit record, a staff member turned the corner and spotted me. Need help with something? He asked, eyebrows raised. I stepped back quickly. Oh, nah. I was just looking for the lost and found. He nodded, unconvinced, and walked past. I didn't dare linger. I walked back through the cardio floor, pretending to stretch my arms, and left without a workout. That night, I almost told her. Almost. But something held me back. I wanted the truth, but I wanted it on my terms. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I reached out to someone else. Amanda, Troy's wife. We weren't close, but we chatted a few times at couples events. She always seemed sharp, calm, observant. I sent her a message, short and direct. Amanda, I think we need to talk. It's about the gym. She replied within the hour. The next morning, we met at the local diner. She looked tense, arms crossed, hair pulled into a tight braid. No smile. What's this about? She asked. I think your husband and my wife might be spending more time together than just macros and reps. Her lips pressed into a line. She looked away, then back at me. You think? I've seen things. Little things. I followed them once. Nothing solid. Yet, Amanda reached in her purse and pulled out her phone. She slid it across the table. Check this. It was a photo. Troy's car, parked in the lot behind the gym. Timestamp, 10:42 p.m. He said he was grabbing protein powder from the 24-hour shop, she said flatly. But I followed him. That lot's nowhere near the store. I stared at the photo, then nodded. That's the same time Samantha said she was doing yoga class. So, they're lying to both of us, Amanda said, pushing her coffee aside. I felt my pulse slow. I thought maybe I was just seeing ghosts. But it's real, isn't it? Yeah, she said softly. It's real. We sat in silence. The waitress refilled our coffee. I looked at Amanda. What do we do? She smirked. You want to confront her? I shook my head. Not yet. I want to be sure. I want her to bury herself in it. She nodded slowly. Then we let them think we're blind. That night, I walked into our house and kissed Samantha on the forehead like I hadn't just met with the wife of the man she might be sneaking around with. She smiled, told me she had a long leg day. I offered to rub her feet. She declined. I went to bed early, laid awake staring at the ceiling again. The next day, I saw her phone light up while it charged in the kitchen. A new message. Just a name, Troy. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. Her reaction when she walked in and saw me next to it told me enough. You weren't looking at that, were you? She asked, feigning casual. I smiled. Nope, just checking the time. She exhaled quickly. Okay, good. It's just gym stuff. Sure, I said, keeping my tone flat. You're all about those macros lately. She laughed a little too loud. Yeah, you know me. I nodded. I know you. But the truth was, she didn't know me anymore. Because now, I wasn't the clueless husband clinging to trust. I was a man watching the floorboards warp beneath her lies. And she was walking barefoot across them. One step from the fall. The next week moved like a fog. Everything looked the same. Samantha still brewed her green tea every morning, still wore that fleece jacket she claimed was too cozy to give up, and still gave me the same kiss on the cheek before leaving for the gym. But I noticed how she no longer mentioned what workout she did, who she saw, or what new routine she was trying. Her phone never left her side. At night, when it buzzed, she'd glance at the screen and smile to herself before turning it over. I didn't press. I just filed every little moment away like a mental ledger. One morning, I came back from running errands to find her at the kitchen counter. She was startled when I walked in, quickly closing a browser tab on her laptop. I caught just a flash, an email window, subject line, Friday night confirmed. I acted like I hadn't seen anything. Hey, I was just looking at hotel deals for our anniversary, she said, too quickly, voice rising a note too high. Early planner, I said, raising an eyebrow. Anniversary's not for 3 months. She waved a hand. You know me, always ahead of schedule. I smiled. Right. That night, she mentioned she might stay late at the gym Friday for a new class. It wasn't even subtle anymore. Something had shifted. She wasn't trying as hard to lie. Maybe she thought I'd never suspect her, or maybe, deep down, she didn't care if I did. Either way, I decided Friday was my checkpoint. Amanda and I texted back and forth, no fluff, no emotion, just strategy. Thursday evening, I stopped by the gym under the excuse of needing to renew my membership. While the clerk sorted things at the desk, I took a slow walk around. Everything looked normal. Clean mats, mirrors wiped, weights stacked, but I paid attention to the little things. A sign taped to the sauna door, closed for maintenance Friday, 6 to 9 p.m. The timing was too perfect. I tucked that detail in my back pocket. Friday arrived like clockwork. Samantha was practically glowing by the time she left the house. I'll probably be home late, she said, grabbing her gym bag. Might stop by a smoothie bar after. Sounds good, I said, handing her the keys. Drive safe. She left, and I waited. 2 hours later, Amanda and I met in the alley behind the gym. She handed me a copy of the building's security map, courtesy of her friend who worked the back office. We didn't talk much, just nodded and split up. She stayed near the front in case either of them tried to slip out early. I went around to the loading bay, hidden from the main lot, but in perfect view of the back stairwell leading to the staff-only lounge and sauna area. At exactly 7:22 p.m., the side door creaked open. Samantha stepped out first, followed by Troy. Both laughing, both careless. Her hair was tied up like she'd just showered, and he was wiping his neck with a towel. I stayed hidden, heart pounding, not from hurt anymore, but from the pressure of finally knowing I hadn't been imagining it. They slipped back inside after a few minutes, long enough to confirm everything I'd suspected. I didn't need grainy footage anymore. I had the real thing now, burned into memory. I waited another 10 minutes, then walked around to the front and entered casually. Amanda had already left to avoid suspicion. Inside, the gym echoed with soft music and low voices. Samantha was near the smoothie bar now, smiling at the staff, pretending like she hadn't just come back from a rendezvous. She didn't see me right away. I took the long route around the cardio equipment, made eye contact with Troy briefly. He froze, just for a second, then looked away. I walked up behind her. Hey, I said quietly. She jumped. Oh, I didn't think you were coming tonight. I got off early. Thought I'd surprise you. Her smile faltered for the briefest second. That's sweet. We stood there awkwardly for a beat. Then I nodded toward Troy. You two been training together a lot lately? She shrugged, keeping her tone breezy. A few times. He's just helping me with form. Form's important, I said flatly. She changed the subject. Hey, I was thinking we could maybe go hiking this weekend. Clear the air. I didn't respond. I just looked at her, really looked, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel a shred of confusion. I saw her clearly now. A person who had already made her choices. A person who just hadn't been caught loud enough. I'll think about it, I said. She nodded, relieved. Great. I'll send you a list of trails. I walked out, and I didn't look back. At home, I stared at our shared calendar on the fridge. She'd marked the upcoming weekend as wellness retreat. Another lie. I took the magnet off and tossed the paper in the trash. I was done collecting clues. Now I was preparing for a storm. Saturday morning came with a strange calm, the kind that creeps in before a storm hits. I sat on the back porch with a mug of black coffee, staring at the dew clinging to the grass. It was quiet, too quiet for a house that once held easy laughter and routine rhythms. Samantha hadn't come home Friday night. No text, no excuse, no fabricated emergency. Just absence. The clock had ticked past midnight, and I hadn't called. I didn't want to. I already knew where she was, or rather, with whom. Still, I needed one more piece, just one. I wasn't going to guess anymore. I needed to see it for myself. I got in the truck and drove to the gym, parked across the street in an auto parts lot. I stayed in the driver's seat, watching. I timed it. She usually showed up for cardio intervals around 9:15 on Saturdays. At 9:11, her car pulled in. She didn't see me. She walked in carrying a second bag, duffel-sized. People don't bring overnight bags to a gym. Not unless they're staying after hours. Or slipping away. I waited 10 minutes, then walked across the street and entered the gym through the main entrance. The girl at the desk gave me a quick nod and scanned my tag without looking twice. I didn't head for the weight racks. I went straight for the stairwell at the back of the facility. I mapped it out already. The upper floor had the offices, a locked equipment closet, and, according to Amanda, the second lounge area for staff. At the top, I paused. I heard nothing. The hallway curved gently, and I moved quietly, heartbeat steady but high. Voices floated down the hall. Hers. His. Laughter. The door to the lounge was slightly ajar. I stayed just far enough to avoid detection, but close enough to confirm. Her sneakers were at the edge of the doorway. A man's hand reached out for a water bottle on a side table. Next time, Samantha said, breathless, "We need to lock that hallway door." Troy laughed. "Or just tell your husband the truth." She scoffed. "Please. He thinks I'm doing spin class. You're a good actress." "No," she said. "He's just that easy to fool." That was it. That was the line. Not the lie, but the smugness in her voice. The confidence in knowing she'd pulled it off so long. I backed away, slow and silent. I didn't need to see anything else. I didn't need cameras or microphones or footage. I had heard her say it, heard the betrayal drip from her tone like something rehearsed. Back in my truck, I stared at the steering wheel for what felt like hours. I wasn't sad. I wasn't broken. I was angry, and I was focused. I drove to Amanda's place and showed her the voice memo I'd recorded. Her eyes narrowed as she listened, jaw tight, arms crossed. When it ended, she said nothing. She just nodded. "We have a problem," I said, "but we can turn it into theirs." That night, I stopped at the hardware store and picked up a couple things. Nothing aggressive, just prep. I cleaned out the guest room and moved my things into it. Left the master untouched. I didn't want her to think anything was wrong yet. I needed her to believe everything was still under her control. Sunday morning, I cooked breakfast. Bacon, eggs, toast, the usual. She came home wearing the same gym outfit, hair tied up but messy, eyes wide when she saw me in the kitchen. "You're up early," she said cautiously. "Didn't sleep much," I replied, handing her a plate. "Thought we could eat together." She sat down, guarded. "That's nice." I let her talk about her fake spin class. Nodded along. Smiled where appropriate. I even poured her orange juice. But in my head, I was building a list. Later, when she left for errands, I logged into our shared laptop and scoured everything. I already knew her passwords. She hadn't changed them in years. Her email had a folder labeled client work, but it was filled with receipts for Airbnb bookings under a fake name, Mallory J. Multiple locations. 2 were near the gym. The rest? Weekend hideaways. I took screenshots, copied everything onto a flash drive. Then I sent myself an email with the subject, insurance. Monday was the gym's open house event. Samantha would be there. Troy would too. Amanda and I had plans. The final piece was falling into place, and neither of them had a clue what was coming. I closed the laptop and looked around the house we'd built together. Every photo now looked like fiction. Every memory, a performance. But I was done being the audience. Monday arrived like it had something to prove. Cold air swept through town early, leaving fog hanging low over the pavement, clinging to the windshield as I pulled into the gym parking lot just after 7. The open house wasn't until 10, but I had other plans. Amanda texted at 7:03, in position. She parked around the back, dressed in her old training gear, the kind Troy would recognize. She was always smarter than people gave her credit for, and this morning, she didn't even blink when I handed her a gym clipboard and name badge I'd borrowed from the front desk a few nights back. Inside, the lights were on but dimmed. The only other cars in the lot belonged to staff, Troy's included. I knew his early schedule, knew Samantha had the excuse of helping prep smoothies for the morning crowd. I made sure not to go in the front. Instead, I walked around the side, slipped through the propped emergency exit door like I was part of the cleaning crew. The hallway was quiet, but I could hear music thumping faintly from the spin room, except there was no class scheduled that early. I moved fast but silent, keeping to the shadows until I reached the corridor near the sauna lounge. I paused there just long enough to catch my breath and press record on my phone again. Their voices were muffled, but familiar. Samantha's laugh, fake and sugar-sweet. Troy's cocky little chuckle. The lounge door was cracked again. Either they were careless or confident. I edged close enough to see the bottom of Samantha's gym bag tossed on the floor and her hoodie draped over a bench. It didn't matter what they were doing inside. I wasn't there to catch them in the act. Not this time. I needed confirmation. I needed closure. And I needed it on my terms. I turned, walked back out the way I came, and headed toward the front lobby, where Amanda waited behind the smoothie bar counter, blending a decoy shake. I gave her the nod. She smiled, calm and sharp. "You still think I'm the wife with no bite?" she asked, handing me a bottle of water. "Give him 5 minutes," I said. "He won't know what hit him." At 10:02, Troy strolled into the lobby in a sleeveless hoodie like nothing had happened. Samantha followed. Makeup too perfect, posture too forced. She froze for a half second when she saw me behind the front desk, arms crossed. Her smile twitched, then snapped back into place. "Didn't know you'd be here," she said. I shrugged. "Didn't know you were still teaching spin." Troy's eyes darted to Amanda. She stepped out from behind the counter and clipped her name tag to her chest. His face fell a fraction. "You two working here now?" he asked. Amanda cocked her head. "Someone's got to clean up the mess." Samantha steppet in fast. "Okay, what's going on?" I pulled out my phone and played the audio I'd recorded earlier. The part where she said I was easy to fool. The air in the lobby turned heavy. No one said a word. A couple of guests wandered by, caught a glimpse of the tension, and wisely kept walking. "Eli," Samantha started. "I'm not here for a speech," I interrupted. "I'm here to let you know I know, and I don't need you to explain it." Troy tried to speak. Amanda cut him off. "I saw the hallway footage," she said coldly. "You're a joke, and you're not half the man you pretend to be." He backed away like someone had slapped him. Samantha reached out toward me. "We can fix this. We just need to talk." I shook my head. "You've said enough. You said it when you lied to my face, when you laughed about it. You made your choices, Sam." She looked like she was searching for a script that wasn't there. For the first time in weeks, I saw her unsure. I leaned in just slightly. "You remember saying I was easy to fool?" She blinked. "Well," I said, "that part's over." I turned, walked out with Amanda behind me. Neither of us saying a word until we reached the parking lot. "That was satisfying," she muttered. "Still not done," I said, unlocking my truck. "But we're close." Back home, I boxed up the rest of Samantha's things quietly, methodically. I left them in the garage and changed the code. I didn't feel bad. I didn't even feel tired. What I felt was clear. Tomorrow, I'd start planning the part they'd never see coming. I didn't sleep the night after the confrontation. Not from nerves, those had burned out long ago, but from focus. Cold, precise, deliberate focus. While Samantha was scrambling for explanations, rehearsing excuses she might never get to deliver, I was upstairs in the office, scribbling notes, drafting emails, pulling up files. Revenge wasn't about theatrics. It was about timing. I didn't want just retribution. I wanted clarity. For me, for everyone watching. I wanted to shift the spotlight so she couldn't escape it. At dawn, I pulled into the bakery downtown and found Amanda already waiting at a corner table, nursing black coffee. She looked more alert than I felt. "You ready to go through with this?" I asked, sliding into the seat across from her. "I was ready the second I found out he used my car to take her out," she said. Eyes narrowed. "Let's light this match." We had a plan. It wasn't the explosive kind. It was quieter, slower, more dangerous. First, we reached out to the gym's co-owner, an older man named Carl who barely knew how to unlock the office printer, let alone check the security logs. Amanda offered to help with promotional content for their site. I said I'd volunteer for the community outreach event next weekend. Within a day, we had access to the shared drive and the studio schedule. Amanda texted me Thursday afternoon. "They're scheduled together Friday. Spin class. After hours. Just them." I replied with a single word. Perfect. Friday came quick. We spent the day pretending to be as predictable as ever. I checked in at work. Amanda swung by her sisters. Meanwhile, I contacted 3 friends who owed me favors, including one who handled AV rentals for weddings and town events. By 5 o'clock, I had everything I needed: a borrowed mini projector, a wireless mic, and a login to the gym's community group page. At 8:15 p.m., the gym was quiet. The front desk staff had already clocked out, and the parking lot was mostly empty. From a distance, it looked like a slow Friday. But inside, the lights in Studio C were on. I parked around back again, hauled the gear through the side door, and met Amanda by the break room. There inside, she whispered. Just got started. I handed her the mic. You'll know when to cue the file. I slipped into the control room that overlooked the studio. From the narrow glass, I saw Samantha at the front of the room, perched on her bike, giving Troy that smug faux instructor smile. He was stretching, laughing. No clue. At exactly 8:23, Amanda walked in with a Bluetooth speaker tucked in her bag, pretending to fumble with it. Samantha saw her and stiffened. What are you doing here? She snapped. Amanda smiled. Just here for a little workout. You don't mind sharing the space, right? Before Samantha could answer, the studio lights dimmed. The projector flickered to life, casting a silent slideshow on the back wall. Photos, audio snippets, and one short clip. The 2 of them sneaking out of the sauna, grainy but unmistakable. Gasps echoed from the few lingering gym members in the hallway who had wandered close. Troy stood frozen. Samantha dropped her towel. Amanda stepped forward and tapped the mic. You both seemed so committed to fitness. I figured you'd want everyone to see your progress. Samantha spun toward the booth, toward me. Eli, stop this. I leaned into the intercom. I already did. A long time ago. I left the booth and walked out without another word. Amanda followed, calm and unbothered. That night, I changed the locks at home. Her name was still on a few things, sure, but the documents for separation were nearly done. A few hours later, her voice rang out on the front porch. I ignored it. You can't do this, she cried. Already did. I muttered to myself, turning up the volume on the TV. By Monday morning, the gym's inbox was flooded. Carl called me twice. I didn't answer. Amanda told him it was an unfortunate misunderstanding, but reminded him he now had cause to remove Troy from the schedule. He agreed before she finished her sentence. That afternoon, I mailed the final papers to Samantha's workplace. I didn't add a note. Didn't need to. The whole town had seen it. The whispers were loud enough. What she didn't realize, what none of them realized yet, was that I wasn't done. I had one last move. One final chapter, and it was going to end exactly the way it started, quiet, clean, and on my terms. Thank you for listening to the end. I hope you enjoyed it very much. Don't forget to give a like, and tell us in the comments what you would do in such a situation.